Welcome to part 2 of my free course on the basics of understanding the yachting industry. In this part, we're going to be discussing one of the hottest topics I always get asked, the negative sides of the yachting industry. This topic to me is one of the most important ones to have an understanding on because some of these can either make or break a lot of people's decision on getting into this industry. So let's talk about it. Another negative to the industry is missing holidays. When you think about it, holidays are a hot time for yacht owners and charter guests to come on and cruise the Caribbean islands or the Bahamas as their holiday vacation. With trips means the yacht needs its crew. Me personally, I haven't been home for any major holidays like Christmas or New Year's in years. In all honesty, after not celebrating these holidays for the last few years, it has become a norm for me and most other crew members, but it was hard to wrap my head around when I first started. When you're thinking about becoming a crew member in the yachting industry, it's important to know the challenges that comes with this job. One of the most significant challenges is living in close quarters with your crewmates. When you start working on yachts, it's almost like a bit of a culture shock. With other jobs, you are normally just working with your coworkers 8 hours a day, whereas in the yachting industry, you are literally living and working with your coworkers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I was first starting in the yachting industry, I started on a 97-foot yacht with 4 other people. I remember not only did I have to share my bathroom with 2 of the other male crewmates on board, but I also had to share my cabin with the male chef, which wasn't ideal because they weren't big cabins. Add the stress and the duties of working on charter and it becomes a lot. Having to deal with crew members that don't clean up after themselves is even worse. Dirty dishes, dirty clothes, it was just the start of it. On top of having crewmates with different routines, you're also mixing cultures, which, like I've said before, is really fun, but it does come with its own challenges. On that same boat, we had a mate that came from a background where the women cook and clean up after the men, and that's not how I was raised. So after I got done cooking, I was cleaning up my dirty plates and he would just come and put all of his dirty plates in front of me for me to clean. And I lost it. It's hard because when you're on charter, you're always expected to keep a smile and positive attitude. But when you're dealing with frustration from other coworkers that you have to see and interact with, it's very challenging. After my first couple of programs dealing with these types of crewmates, I had to adapt to the lifestyle like everybody does. I had to find something to do that allowed me to step away and decompress to help manage the stress and frustration that inevitably comes with working and living with so many people. My favorites are working out, going on walks, or if you're unable to get off the boat, listening to music in your cabin or watching your favorite TV show. So not only can the crew be difficult to work with sometimes, but the guest can be very difficult to work with. Working on the interior as a stewardess, it's my job to work closely with the guests to make sure that they are comfortable and they have everything that they need. Having that kind of service, though, does not bring out the best in a lot of people. I've seen some incredibly rude and disrespectful guests that go out of their way to make sure that you know that they're better than you. Purposefully dropping things for you to pick up, not looking at you when you speak, even making sexual comments. However, especially with the women on board, there are rules and standards in the maritime law that allows the captain to not only kick off charter guests that are unsafe or are harassing the crew, they can also blacklist them from ever chartering again. Unfortunately, though, it does happen. It's mentally exhausting sometimes, especially when you're having to deal with rude guests and having to keep a smile on your face. And sometimes they're on for like a week. Something that personally always helps me though is the rest of the crew. Everyone is going through the same thing that you are, so it just makes it easier to get through. Another major challenge is how physical this job can be. Whether you decide to work on the interior or the exterior, you are going to be working. Each department is different, but you are going to be working long days when you're on charter. For the interior, you're working on your feet all day. Running up and down stairs, squeezing into tight spaces, carrying heavy platters, plates. My feet are exhausted by the end of the day. On the exterior, you're going to be working in the elements all day. Rain, sun, snow. Lifting heavy equipment, water toys, and washdowns all take a lot of energy. And of course, one of my most asked questions, physically getting seasick. It takes a toll on you. It's a normal process of when you start working on boats, so it's nothing to be ashamed about. Your body has to get used to the constant movement. But the good thing is there's different remedies for this, whether it be drugs or a more natural approach. I worked with a chief stew that without fail would get seasick anytime that we moved. Her remedy was to go and sit on the aft deck and watch the horizon until she got used to the movement. One of my remedies that I actually learned from a chef that helped me when I got seasick was to cut a slice of fresh ginger and just suck on it like candy, which I still use to this day. So working in the yachting industry does not come without its challenges. It has amazing perks to it, but you're also working long days, physically very demanding, mentally demanding, and living in close quarters with people that sometimes you might not like. This job does require a lot of patience and professionalism, but with the right mindset and tools, these challenges can be overcome. As for me, I learned to take care of my own mental health first. It's crucial to be a successful crew member. And sometimes the best course of action is just to smile and take a deep breath. Putting your career on hold. When I first started in the yachting industry, a lot of people involuntarily gave me their opinion like, what are you going to do with this career? When are you going to get a real job? Or what about your degree? And as annoying as that was, it was a concern of mine. I'm not saying that this job can't be a career for you, because it absolutely can if you want to start out in deck to become a captain, or a cook stew to be a chef, or start out in interior to be a chief stew. These are all real possibilities, especially for a lot of crew members that I've worked with. However, is that what you want? You take a career hit if you know that this is not what you want to do for the rest of your life. If you're getting into the yachting industry for the travel and experience like I'm doing, you're putting your career on hold for however long you want to do yachting. For me, physically working on a yacht for the rest of my life is not what I want to do. It's physically demanding and long hours like I've talked about before. Though I want to stay within the yachting world and create a business with inside of it, that's not a reality for a lot of crew members, and I'm sure a lot of you watching right now, and that's okay. I worked with this guy in the yachting industry for a couple of years. He started when he was 18 and knew that this wasn't the career that he wanted, but rather the career that he needed to be able to fund his schooling to become a pilot. There are lots of people in their 20s who are in this career to purely fund their schooling or business to be able to go and do something else. Something else that you put on pause when you're getting into this industry is starting a family, if that's what you want. This industry has you traveling for the most part a lot. Even now, I'm finding it hard to date. Crew that I've worked with before have told me that they want to settle down and get married or have kids, but simply can't because they work on yachts. Not saying that you can't find that special someone in the industry, because so many crew members do, but even if you do find that special someone, then it becomes a fact that you're trying to work on the same boat together, which can be quite hard, or you're ending up doing long distance for who knows how long. It's not out of the question. I've touched on programs that can help aid in you wanting to stay close to home, family, or significant others. Privately owned yachts that stay in port for most of the year with maybe some weekend trips here or there, but that's another bad side of the industry, and that's the boring programs. These programs aren't bad if that's what you're looking for, but if you're in this to travel and end up on a program like that, it can be really hard. Believe me, that's not the only thing that can be boring when working on yachts. Whether you end up working on the interior or the exterior, both departments are going to have very tedious jobs. From organizing pantries, vacuuming ceilings, or ironing bed sheets, to doing wash downs, cleaning the teak, or polishing silver, there's work in both departments that will have you questioning why you're doing this in the first place. This topic is always a big question for people when they're looking at getting into the industry. I went into this not knowing what I wanted to get out of it. I just knew that I wanted to travel and I'd figure the rest out along the way, which I have. However, if you're someone that knows what they want to do and are struggling with the fact that you will be putting these things on hold for this job, then it can be really hard and this job might not be for you. I really hope this video opened your eyes to some of the potentially negative sides of this industry, but I hope it didn't discourage you. After doing this job for 5 years, I am fully aware that it can be difficult at times, but what keeps me hooked are all of the adventures, traveling, and people that you get to meet. So with that being said, let's talk about one of the most unique and amazing aspects of this industry in part 3. See you there.